What's going on, everybody? It's Kris here. Want to do a quick one. I had some neat loans coming in and construction. We're going to talk about some basic construction stuff. And here's a rub that I just had. Look, people with rates being where they are, people are trying to find a deal. And I get it. You're trying to find a deal, you're trying to find something, and I've gotten multiple calls that, hey, I found this property. It has a manufacturer on it, it's on land, or it's a house, but it's not finished, it's not completed, and people are trying to find a deal. That's fantastic. You should always be looking for a deal. Why pay more if you don't need to? Why not get something that you want? But there are challenges that I'm seeing that everybody's kind of running into as they're finding these deals. So, example, when it comes to manufactured homes, they're like, look, I found this manufactured home. It's at a fantastic price. It's unbelievable. I want to buy it. As soon as I hear what the price is, I start asking questions. Okay, so I'm going to use, now keep in mind, we do loans all over the country, right? So I'm with Patriot Pacific Financial. And but I'm going to talk about Southern California because I think I'm physically here, even though I do loans everywhere. I'm physically here, but I think it's interesting to look at how different the markets are. So in Southern California, as soon as I hear somebody say I found a half acre or a quarter acre or a full acre with a manufactured home on it, and it's only listed for 300,000, immediately my freaking brain starts popping off. I'm like, oh. Why is that? Almost always, it's a pre 1976 manufactured home. Almost always. If it's not a pre 1976 manufactured home, it's not on permanent foundation. I just closed a loan, a beautiful freaking house, manufactured on owned land. The challenge is that it wasn't on a permanent foundation. But what's cool is they got the seller to actually cover the costs. We did the permanent foundation in escrow, and then we used a VA loan in order to purchase the home, which was awesome. It's a veteran that did it, zero down, came in, unbelievable house. So that's how you deal with if it's not on a permanent foundation. So let's say it's 1976 or newer, not on permanent foundation. It's going to be a chattel loan, which chattel loans, look, they serve a point, they serve a purpose. There is nothing wrong with a chattel loan. I love chattel loans. I do them all the time. However, there are truths to it. It's going to cost more. The interest rate is going to be 1 to 2 percentage points over whatever the going rate is. What does it mean by the going rate? The going rate is if you Googled, what's the rate today? And the Google interweb says it's 6%. Well, guess what? Just add 1 or 2 percentage points if you have great credit. Now, this is the big one. So whenever I say with the going rate, well, it says it's 6%. Why am I not at like 7 or 8? Well, because you have garbage credit. Let's just be honest. It's always shocking to me how somebody will sit there and go, well, I deserve the same rate as somebody with an 800 credit score, but you have a 540. You have a 540. You made those choices. The bank didn't make those choices for you. The bank didn't make the choice to have your credit low. It's okay. You're where you're at. Let's just accept it and understand that the bank wants to make sure that we're working with somebody that is a qualified buyer. You have a lower credit score, therefore you're a higher risk and the interest rate goes up. So chattel loans are going to have that plus the down payment. It could start at 5%. It could work its way up depending on what it is. So that's how we deal with permanent foundations. If it's not on a permanent foundation, I did some videos on 433As. Check that out. But if you want to get into the other rub is anything pre-1976. Okay, so and people struggle with this. They struggle with it. And I will do my best to explain how this works with a pre-1976 home and why the bank views it the way it does. Okay, pre-1976 is considered a mobile home. This is the stuff when you watch one of these shows like Slab City or whatever else, and you see like the people that are out there, they look like their eyes are glazed over. They don't have anything to look forward to in their future. And, that's that we're talking about. These are those types of homes. It's the stuff out of movies. They're old. Now, if it doesn't look old, and this is what keeps on coming up. And now we can talk to the investors a little bit. If it doesn't look old, it's like, well, it's completely remodeled. The bank should be good with it. It still is what it is. Anything pre-1976 is a depreciating asset. If you don't know what that means, it means it's going to lose value. So what does the bank care about? The bank only cares about two things. They care about protecting their asset and making a profit. What do you mean by protecting their asset? Well, here's the thing. Until you pay off that loan, it is not yours. The bank owns it. They have a note on it. Now you get the bundle of rights, which is fantastic. You get the use and all the enjoyment and all that fun stuff, but the bank still owns that thing until you pay the bank off. If you don't like it, save more money. Don't borrow money. If you need to borrow money, the bank cares about two things: protecting its asset and making a profit. That is a truth. And it doesn't matter with what we're talking about. It's not just homes. It's not just a house. And people get all worked up. Well, this is wrong. You don't feel like it's wrong when you get a credit card. You don't feel like it's wrong when you go buy a refrigerator because your refrigerator just shut down and you had to borrow money. You don't feel like it's wrong when you're getting a car. If you need to borrow somebody else's money, even if it's Uncle Jack's money, Uncle Jack, what's going on? I need to borrow some money. If Uncle Jack hooks you up with the family discount, that's great. But if Uncle Jack doesn't, here's the thing. You don't have any money. You're borrowing money from Uncle Jack. Uncle Jack says, I'm going to give me back my money plus some juice, whatever that is, 6%, 7%, 13%, whatever it is, right? That's how it works. So if the bank cares about protecting its asset, one of the things it wants to look at is if you default on the loan. That's the key. If you default on the loan and you stop paying, can the bank get their money back? If the answer is no, that's a problem. This is why land loans are so difficult and why so few lenders do land loans. It's difficult to sell land and get the money back. So now if you're talking about a depreciating asset, when they did the appraisal, it was worth $200,000. And then 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years later, you stop making payments, it's not worth $200,000. It loses value. So if the bank sells it, they lose money. The bank doesn't want to lose money. Therefore, they're going to hammer you. So if it's pre-1976, there are loans out there. There's a type of chattel loan. You're looking at 35% down. Now, is it possible you can get it cheaper? It's possible. But it's a heavy down payment, and the interest rates are going to be sky high. Just treat it like a really expensive car loan. Straight up. Treat it like an expensive car loan. So can you get a loan on those cheaper homes? Yes. Is it going to look anything like buying a regular house? No. You're going to bleed. The higher the risk, the more you're going to pay. That's just what it is. And it sucks when I have to explain that to people. They get very upset. They want to start blaming the government. Oh, the government's screwing us. This is not the government. This is just, you don't have the money. You want to borrow the money from somebody. They do a risk assessment based off of the money that you want to borrow. And when they look at the risk versus the return, they have to make a decision. Well, in order for us to give you this money, because it's X amount of risk, we're going to ask you to pay more. And if you don't want it, well, then don't buy it. That's all right. We'll give our money to somebody else with less risk at a cheaper rate, right? So that's what I've been seeing when it comes to people wanting to do that. Those two things. And then I think the third one that I didn't mention is half-finished houses. I got a phone call today. I had a phone call this weekend. Half-finished houses. Somebody started a ground-up construction project. They were building the house, and for some reason, it's not complete. And they want to sell the house to somebody else to purchase. And then I get a phone call. It's like, man, it's only worth $300,000. They said it only takes $100,000 more to get it finished. Okay, so I'll reach out to the agent. So one of the agents called me this morning. I says, hey, so what did the seller's agent say didn't get done? Oh, well, they wouldn't tell me. What did they say was wrong? Why did they run out of money? Now let's back up, right? Imagine you decided that you were going to build your dream home. You're going to build your dream home. You go to a bank, they give you money to buy the land, they give you money to do the construction, and for some reason, you don't complete it. So it should raise questions. Why not? Did you run out of money? Did something come up that says you can't complete it? Did the county or local government say that it's a no-go? What happened? What stopped the train? Those are the questions you should be asking, for one. The reason why is, and I try to tell people those two things. Remember I said there's two things that the bank cares about. They care about making a profit. They care about protecting their asset. If a loan officer is worth their salt, if they can show those two things, how the bank is going to protect their asset and how the bank is going to make a profit, they usually can find a loan. Somebody can do a loan for that. but there's a lot of issues with picking up somebody else's construction that isn't complete. There's no certificate of occupancy. Well, what went wrong? Why didn't it get complete? Why did they run out of money? Why is it over budget? Why aren't the utilities done? But like the drywall and everything inside is, it looks like it's complete, but there's no utilities. What's going on? What happened? Why did it stop? Did they default? Is it in default? Lots of questions. That's why it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to get a loan for something that's already been underway on construction in order to buy it out and continue the construction to complete it. Big red flag is if you call the seller's agent and they start telling you nothing. It's a huge freaking red flag because they're more or less going, oh, it's as is. You figure out what's broken. You figure out why it didn't close. You figure out why we went over budget and couldn't get it done. Scary stuff. So anyways, look, I'm going to probably I mentioned it last week. I'm probably going to do 3 videos where it's just me running my mouth. I don't even know what I'm going to run my mouth about. I'm just going to run my mouth, post it up, and hopefully you all like to watch it, and hopefully it helps. So that's all I got today. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you later. Bye.